Now, in the interest of full honesty, I should disclose that I was originally given this appliance by a client who wanted me to develop recipes. And they told me that I would be working with a food processor by Cuisinart. And I was really excited. I didn't have a food processor, I thought it would be super useful. But then they delivered it. And this is what they delivered. When I saw this for the first time, I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. This is like flimsy and tiny and like, yeah, it's wireless, but it has like no power to it. It's been about 5 years since then. The contract is well over, so I can be completely honest and disclose all of the pros and cons of the Cuisinart mini chopper. And we're going to see if this is a silly little toy or if it's actually a super useful piece of kit that I would recommend to any kitchen or somewhere in between. Let's find out.
For our first test, I'm just making a simple dip with a can of chickpeas that I quickly warmed through, and I'm just going to season them in a similar way that I would a hummus. Now, while the capacity of the mixing bowl as well as the blades themselves are quite small, this machine does handle a simple batch of dip super easily, even breaking down tougher ingredients like chickpeas and beans and things. And while the end result isn't the smoothest, it's actually quite coarse and chunky, for simple meal prep, it just gets the job done really quickly and really easily. Test passed. Next, we are going to make a quick sauce similar to a pesto. And now this is probably what I use this machine the most for. Small batches of sauces and salad dressings and things like that. And as long as you blitz up any of the tougher ingredients first to be coarsely chopped, and then you add the majority of your liquids afterwards, so your vinegar, your oils, things like that, you can create a really lovely, delicious rustic sauce. Now for our third test, let's see how it breaks down tougher whole ingredients like these peanuts. I'll often need to crush something like nuts or biscuits for a recipe, or turn some stale bread into breadcrumbs, and this little guy does a fantastic job of breaking down all of those. And while I don't think this little motor could handle making like a proper nut butter, it is still incredibly quick, consistent, and honestly more useful than hand chopping the nuts or crushing them in batches with a pestle and mortar or rolling pin or something. Okay, now that we've covered what this machine can do, let's have a good, honest discussion about what it cannot do. Now, despite having a reasonably sharp blade, I would never choose this over my actual knife to cut something like an onion or garlic or tomatoes. It does a worse job and it requires me to wash bits and pieces afterwards. And even though the container, the lid and the blade are all very well made and are dishwasher friendly, after a good 5 years of on and off use, the blade is definitely showing signs of wear and tear, even though I always hand wash it. Now, I may be able to sharpen this blade eventually, but it's still working just fine, to be completely fair. Also, it is definitely worth mentioning that this machine has two settings. It has a chop setting, where the blade spins normally, and a grind setting, where the motor works backwards and the blade spins backwards, and it just crushes things with the backside of the blade. This is pretty useful in that it helps to crush nuts quite easily, and sometimes it's useful to pulse the machine back and forth, but honestly, I would never use this feature to finely grind spices or coffee, as I just don't think it would break them down fine enough. Now, with all of that being said, let's draw some conclusions.
Okay, so we've discussed all of the pros and the cons. I've shown a ton of different use cases, but let's talk about this. Should you buy this or should you buy something else? Now, for starters, at face value, obviously, if you want something bigger, you want something more powerful, I would just recommend a normal food processor. I would highly recommend the Magimix line. The Magimix 5200 XL is the one that I have, and it is incredible. Maybe a little overkill, maybe go for a lower down model. The 3200 is great. I will leave a link to that review inside the description of this video. But if you want something for the same sort of like size and capabilities, I may recommend a wired model that might have slightly more power output, which could be super useful, but this little guy is kind of unique. And this right here is going to be my final verdict. Would I buy this again if it broke? I did not originally buy this. I had no intention of buying this. I didn't even know that this was a product category, a wireless little choppy machine. If I'm being honest, I just might. I genuinely pull this out more often than my Magimix food processor, which does a million different things. It does them incredibly well. But this comes out at least once a week, once every 2 weeks. If I just need to crush up some nuts or some sort of like breading or powder, it's actually really good if I don't need it super, super fine. It is really, really good at making really simple sauces and dressings for just like me and my girlfriend for like dinner. So nothing that needs to be super fancy, nothing that needs to be super, super smooth. The herbs come out a little bit coarse, and that's kind of just fine for most meals, honestly. The fact that it needed to be charged kind of like bugged me in the beginning because it's like, oh, one more thing I need to remember to charge. But it doesn't run out the battery that fast. If you run out of the battery completely from like a handful of uses, like I don't know what you're blending in this thing, like you're really overworking it. I go through months at a time without charging it, and then when I see it's on the last little battery bar, I just plug it in the charge. So yeah, if you can find one of these at a good price and you just want like a little gift for somebody who kind of has it all, this is super useful. I really like it. I would recommend models like it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please maybe go watch another one of these review videos. This is the Magimix video that I was telling you about. Super, super highly recommended piece of gear that does a bajillion things better than this does. But they're different. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. And happy holidays if you're watching this around Christmas.